Since you just won your last match against our generic IC 2-0 to finish in 5th place, how do you reflect on your event?
Mostly I'm glad it's over. Yeah, I mean, there were some bright moments, I guess. I think yesterday just annoyed me so much. Like, I don't mind the 10-hour days. The match against Prague, if I had won or lost, it's a fair match. It was basically, it was a coin flip, yeah, so I just got the lucky end of the coin flip. Match against Hans, also, it's fine. He played well, and I missed some chances. But the match yesterday, I did start to just get very annoyed at the whole tournament. I mean, it's fine to play the super long days, but I don't think it should come down to basically outside interference. Which, not to make excuses, but I mean the spectators are basically just yelling when we have 5 seconds each. And
you're talking about the game with wild swings towards the end.
Once, okay, Hikaru was crushing me, and then he probably had some mate, but it wasn't easy. He had 5 seconds. He went back with the queen. I was back in the game, and around this moment, there was just yelling. I mean, I'm not exaggerating at all. I'm not. It was just screaming in the audience, and you can't play with 5 seconds. So we both blundered. Well, that I could basically mate him, and also win his queen on 2 different occasions. And this is, of course, it wasn't the most consequential match ever. We both were out of contention to win the tournament. Still, it's nice to fight for 3rd place, and actually feel like you're playing more than a consolation match in the end. Okay, 3rd place kind of matters more than whatever 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th matchups. But it leaves a bad taste.
So do you think we should still have audience but come up with a different solution in terms of noise?
Well, the thing is, everything we said in the players' meeting, which people probably thought we were just being prima donnas, but I think it all was a very relevant conversation at the start. I mean, I only found out during that meeting when Hikaru mentioned that the audience would have access to not only the eval bar but also to live commentary and would know exactly what's going on at all moments. And I maybe even downplayed how much noise there would be, because I thought there would be some perhaps whispers that we would hear, but that it was much more than that they were just yelling, and we could hear that even through noise canceling headphones, and very audibly. It wasn't some noise in the background. It was very, very audible. I didn't expect to that degree, but still we understood that it was a major concern. I just thought maybe the noise-canceling headphones would help enough. The other issue is, of course, some players didn't like noise-canceling headphones. I spoke to a few. Han said before he didn't like them because he has some condition with his ear which makes it uncomfortable. That's fair enough. I spoke to other players who also found it uncomfortable. For me, it didn't bother me. I didn't care, but the noise it affects the game. Okay, at some point I made a maybe inflammatory comment that I don't care about the audience. It's not entirely true. I do care about how the event looks. I just care much more about the integrity of the event. I mean, otherwise I think we can just play another game. We can also just spin the roulette wheel, and it also will be entertaining for the audience. But if we want to find a balance between proper tournament and audience experience, then this is not the solution. I mean, I've played in a glass booth. This is a solution, but it has to be thought of before. That's why I didn't suggest it at the players' meeting. You can't suggest it 12 hours before we start. But overall, the whole experience of playing 10 hours and then playing the next morning at 10 a.m. and then having to deal with this is not one that I'll look back on super fondly.
In terms of the format, there were also changes. The games have become a bit shorter. The format was different with more players. Your thoughts on the format changes? What would you ideally like to play in the future?
At the start of the year, there was this, you can call it a fight, in which players were kind of stuck in the middle between, will we call this a world championship, and will it compete with FIDE's world championship? Which was, of course, a difficult question. I think if you ever want to call this tour a world championship, you have to have a consistent format where the time control doesn't change mid-tour, mid-year. from classical to semi-classical or semi-rapid, whatever you want to call it. And also the schedule, the format doesn't change mid-event, where some players are playing 30-30, some players are playing 10-10, and then the next day you might be playing 30-30 or 10-10 and you don't even know. Again, I think it's fine. I don't mind, but then we should differentiate between a tour to decide potentially the best player in this format and just some fun events or some exhibition events where we're just putting a show on.
Plenty of food for thought. Well, the tour is still in its infancy, so I'm sure the organisers will give it all some thought. Fabi, finally, let me just ask you for a prediction. Who is going to win the event and who's going to take the third place?
I haven't seen how the games are finishing in the first one. I think that probably Magnus will pull through, although I think it's going to be very close. But I just have a feeling he'll probably pull through. And I'll go with Levon. I don't know. I think it's also a toss-up. I mean, they're both playing well, and they're both probably pretty tired, although they have had a rest day. But I think that Levon is inspired. He perhaps Hans as well is, but I think Levon hasn't had the most remarkable of results this year so far, and now that he's in good shape, I think he'll be very inspired.
Fabi, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Congrats on the nice finish today, and all the best for your next event.